Hey everybody, welcome to an interview with Quaid Sutherland. We're going to be talking about some of his carnivorous plants today. He's got quite the collection. My name is Kelsey. I am an AmeriCorps service member with the Coastal Land Trust.
Hi, my name's Quaid, and I'm almost 17. I go to Hoggard High School, and I'm here to tell you about some cool carnivorous plants.
Awesome. So the first question I want to ask you, Quaid, is what has sparked your interest in carnivorous plants?
So I actually got one for Christmas when I was probably maybe 10 or 11, and I was super interested in it, and I really wanted to try and keep it, and I ended up killing it in like a couple days. It was pretty impressive. And so after that, I was kind of disappointed, and I really wanted to figure out what I did wrong. And so I ended up buying this book. I'm pretty sure it was called Savage Garden by Peter D'Amato, and it had all sorts of really cool information about carnivorous plants and all the different species and how to care for them. And so once I started reading, I figured out what I did wrong with my Flytrap, and I also learned about so many other different plants, and it was just really, really interesting. And so then I ended up saying, hey, why not buy another Flytrap and try again? And I gave it a go, and it worked out really well. And I got super interested and got some more plants, and it's just kind of continued from there.
Nice. What did you figure out what you did wrong with your first carnivorous plant?
Yes, I did. So for the first one, I can actually go to a picture of, I think this is actually the next one that I got, and I've had this one for about, well, since then, so what, 5 years now? So for the first one, what I did is I used tap water for it, which is a big no-no with carnivorous plants because basically they've evolved in such nutrient-poor soil that a lot of tap water, especially if it's like city water and it's been treated and everything, has too many minerals in it for the plants, and so it's a lot of excess minerals that can, over time, if you water them once with tap water, it's not really going to do anything, but over time that can build up in the soil and kill the plants. So
Interesting.
that's what I did wrong.
So, can you tell us what plants you currently have in your collection?
Yeah, sure. So I can go back to the beginning of this presentation. So this is most of them. I didn't get pictures of all of my plants, but so I have a bunch of American pitcher plants. These are getting pretty big, actually. I'm really a fan of these. They're actually really easy to take care of. You can pretty much just leave them outside like this, and they get a lot of rainwater just from rain every once in a while because a lot of them are actually native to the East Coast of the US. A lot of them are in North Carolina too. And I have this Venus flytrap as well, which is doing really well right now outside. And then these are actually some little sundew that are growing inside the Venus flytrap plant. You can see the trap in the corner. Those guys are doing well. Then I have bladderworts, which are also growing in one of my other pots. Those catch microscopic little insects.
Nice. Cool. So, where did you get some of these plants from?
So most of them I got from this nursery in California called California Carnivores. It's actually run by the guy who wrote the book that I found, Peter D'Amato. It's really cool. Their website, they have all sorts of different stuff that you've never seen before. Like they have like dozens of Venus flytrap hybrids and all sorts of stuff. It's really cool. You can get plants from there. I definitely recommend that. They've got all sorts of stuff. And then also, I think I got a couple of mine from a nursery here in Wilmington. It's shoot, what's it called? Oh, Transplanted Garden. It's that place is really cool too. They've got all sorts of stuff there.
Nice. Yeah, we've gotten some of our carnivorous plants for our educational programs from that same garden. Nice. They look super happy. Do
Yeah,
you cut
definitely.
them back a lot?
So this usually during the winter they die back a bit. So like they basically what they do is because during the summer there's more bugs, so they send up pitchers and they catch all the bugs with the pitchers. But when it's really cold out during the winter, so they have to make sure that they get a similar amount of nutrients. So they actually put up these leaf-like structures that don't have a pitcher on them. So I'm not sure. you probably can't see any. You might be able to see something towards the bottom, towards the base of the plant in this photo. Let me see if I can find some better ones, some better examples. I've cut most of them off in trimming, but so you can see towards the bottom there's that curled leaf, and they basically put those up during the winter so that they can, their surface area for photosynthesis is greater so that they can capture more nutrients. And so basically they put up a lot of those leaves, and they're not really the most pretty leaves, and the pictures die back and they get a little gray. So I usually just let them go during the winter, but then for the spring, I like to clean them up a little bit because those leaves at the bottom there don't look super great.
So do you have any of your carnivorous plants planted in the ground?
No, I actually don't, because it's really difficult. I mean, there's some places in Wilmington, and I mean everywhere probably, where you can plant them in the ground, but if you do that, it's really hard to maintain the right balance of nutrients in the soil and the water, because it's just really tough to figure everything out with like drainage, and because these plants are used to living in swamps and pretty waterlogged areas, so if you put them in the ground, all that water is just going to drain straight through the soil and they're going to dry out pretty fast. So I mean, maybe if you put them near a ditch or something, and it's also hard to get the right soil, like we live at the beach, so it probably wouldn't do so great in just straight sand. So I usually keep them in pots always, and I try and make sure that they're either non-draining pots, or I'll put a little saucer underneath them and make sure that's full of water so that it can reabsorb back into the soil. And it requires a pretty specific soil mixture. I'm sure you could figure something out, but what's worked best for me is, I want to say it's 2 parts peat moss to 1 part perlite or something, and if you just get like a big, like a wheelbarrow or something, and if you just mix, or a big pot, and you just mix them up in there and add some water, that works really well.
Ooh, nice. Those are some good planting tips. So do you have a favorite plant in your collection that you want to show us?
I do. It's actually the one that we're on right now, this pitcher plant. This one's my favorite because it was one of the ones that came from California Carnivores, but it actually wasn't one of the ones that I ordered. So when you buy stuff from California Carnivores, it's really cool because they have this massive nursery. I think it's actually the biggest carnivorous plant nursery in the world, and that's open to the public. And so they have so many different types of things going on in there at the same time, like dozens and dozens of plants, and they have like different temperature controlled sections in their greenhouse and all this crazy stuff. And so they have so much going on in there that when you buy a pot from them, you will end up getting sometimes multiple plants in the same pot that they didn't even intend to send you, but just grew in there anyways. And so when I got some of the other pitcher plants, there were sundews in the bottom, and that's actually where a lot of them came from. There were little sundews in the bottom, and there was actually this little tiny pitcher plant in there, and it grew into this. It was probably about this big, and I just thought, hey, why not throw it in a pot and see what happens? And over the last like 4 or 5 years, it's gotten huge, and so it's kind of my favorite because I've kind of babied it a little bit.
Awesome. So do you feed bugs to your pitcher plants or to your carnivorous plants?
I actually don't. I pretty much just leave them outside and let them do their thing. They're pretty good at it. So unless, I mean, the only real reason to do that is if you were to keep yours inside. And if you were to do that, you'd probably want to use like a light fertilizer, but you have to be really careful with that. There's a lot of good information on that inside the book, Savage Garden. It's a really good book if you want to try and start learning how to keep these plants. Super informative. It's got tons of different sections on like all different care, transplanting, sunlight, water, all sorts of different stuff. But yeah, for the most part, I just put them outside, let them do their thing.
Cool. Well, thank you for sharing your information and some of your carnivorous plants there. If you've got more things you want to learn about carnivorous plants, we've got an online website, coastallandtrust.org/carnivorous, where we've got some downloadable resources for you, and then some also activities for you to do while you're at home. And we hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks. Bye.
Bye.